Claude just got way cheaper than Gemini, but nobody's talking about the actual math. And here's the thing. The pricing alone doesn't tell you which one actually costs less to run. You need to know what you're paying for. So let's break down the real numbers. Because if you're building anything with AI right now, you're probably bleeding money without realizing it. First, the sticker price. As of late 2024, Claude 3.5 Sonnet costs about $3 per million input tokens and $15 per million output tokens. Gemini 2.0 Flash is sitting at 7.5 cents per million input tokens and 30 cents per million output tokens. Yeah, Gemini looks absurdly cheap at first glance. The input tokens are literally 100 times cheaper. But that's where almost everyone stops reading, and that's where the trap is. Because here's what matters. How many tokens does each model actually need to answer your question? That's the hidden variable. A cheaper token price doesn't matter if the model needs twice as many tokens to get the job done. Let me give you a concrete example. Say you're running a customer support chatbot. A customer asks a moderately complex question about your product. With Claude, the model might need 2,000 input tokens to understand the context and generate a solid answer, maybe 400 output tokens. With Gemini, because the model is faster but less precise in reasoning, you might need 3,000 input tokens and 600 output tokens to get the same quality answer. Or worse, you might need to run it twice because the first response wasn't good enough. Let's do the math. Claude's cost for that one interaction, $3 per million times 2,000, plus $15 per million times 400. That's roughly $0.009, or less than a penny. Gemini's cost, 7.5 cents per million times 3,000, plus 30 cents per million times 600. That's about $0.0003. Okay, Gemini's still cheaper in this scenario. But now multiply that by 1 million customer interactions a month. Claude's total is about $9,000. Gemini's is $300. That's a massive difference. But wait, what if Gemini's answers are bad enough that 10% of customers have to ask a follow-up question? Now you're running 10% more queries. What if the quality is so mediocre that customers start switching to competitors? What if you need a human in the loop to fix bad outputs half the time? Suddenly, Gemini's cost advantage evaporates the moment you factor in operational overhead. This is why the real metric isn't price per token. It's cost per successful task completion. And that depends on what you're actually doing. Claude's strength is reasoning. It's better at understanding context, handling ambiguity, and producing outputs that need less post-processing. The model is slower and more expensive per token, but you need fewer tokens to get a good answer. It's like paying for a more experienced consultant who solves the problem the first time instead of a junior who needs 3 attempts. Gemini's strength is speed and scale. If you need to process massive volumes of straightforward tasks, summarizing emails, categorizing data, basic content generation, Gemini will crush Claude on price. The tokens are cheap, the model is fast, and for simple work, the quality is totally fine. So the real answer to which one costs less depends on your use case. Let me break down where each one wins. Choose Claude if you're doing complex reasoning, research, code generation, or anything where the quality of the first output really matters. Choose it if you're building products where a bad answer costs you money or customers. Choose it if you're a startup trying to minimize operational overhead because you can't afford to have humans fixing AI outputs all day. Choose Gemini if you're processing high-volume, low-complexity tasks. Use it if you're running a content pipeline where you can afford some quality variation. Use it if speed matters more than perfection, like real-time customer interactions where a fast, mediocre answer beats a slow, perfect one. Here's the thing that Anthropic and Google both know. The actual cost isn't just what you pay them. It's what you pay them plus everything else. Your engineering time to prompt engineer around limitations. Your customer service time to fix bad outputs. Your reputational cost when something goes wrong. I've seen teams pick Gemini based purely on token price, then spend 3 months and $50,000 in engineering time building workarounds for reasoning failures. I've also seen teams overpay for Claude when a simpler, cheaper model would have been fine. The way to actually compare them is to test both on your specific task, measure the success rate and output quality, then calculate the true cost including everything, not just the token price. One more thing that matters, context window. Claude 3.5 Sonnet has a 200K token context window. Gemini 2.0 Flash has a million token context window. If you're working with huge documents or long conversations, Gemini can fit way more into a single request, which means fewer API calls and potentially lower total cost, even if the per token price is the same. But here's the catch. A bigger context window doesn't always mean better. Claude's smaller context is actually more efficient because the model is better at focusing on what matters. You don't need to dump your entire knowledge base into the prompt. You can be more surgical about it. So if you're trying to actually decide which one to use, stop looking at pricing tables. Spend a weekend running your actual workload through both models. Measure latency, output quality, and error rates. Then do the math. That's the only way you'll know which one actually costs less. The broader lesson here is that AI pricing is deliberately confusing. Companies want you to focus on the headline number and not think about efficiency. But if you're serious about building with AI, you have to think like an engineer, not a consumer. You have to measure. You have to test. You have to actually know your numbers. If you want to stay on top of this stuff, the real numbers, not the marketing numbers, subscribe. I break down AI pricing, performance, and real-world trade-offs like this every few days. And honestly, this is the kind of analysis that'll save you thousands of dollars if you're building anything serious.